After becoming a dad of twins, I noticed my step count and overall cardio-related activity drop. And although I love long, dynamic walks and rugging, and I did a ton of these last year, at this phase of my life, there simply isn't enough time for that. So, in order to avoid becoming the couch potato kind of dad who huffs and puffs every time he goes up a flight of stairs, I decided to reintroduce an old friend of mine to my training. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there are plenty of mornings where I stand at the foot of my hill, not feeling that eager to begin, especially after a bad night sleep or during a stressful week. Yet, every time I return from the top, I find myself walking a little taller. By the time I'm done, I'm a new man, full of energy and confidence. Hill sprints are a great tool to squeeze in a lot of activity, steps and cardio in a short amount of time, with just 2 30 to 45 minute sessions a week being enough to transform your cardiovascular fitness while also building stronger and more athletic legs that you simply won't get from jogging at a slow pace on a flat surface. Next, they can also help burn some extra calories, something that has benefited my current lean bulk. And once you're muscular and lean, they make it easier to stay that way. They also increase your ability to train harder for longer, like when you're strength training, for example, thus also aiding your overall muscle building goals. Lastly, but not leastly, running up hills minimizes the distance your foot has to fall through before hitting the ground, therefore minimizing impact and making them overall more joint friendly than flat sprints or long distance cardio on hard surfaces. Having a prosthetic leg, I can vouch for this since all other forms of cardio always cause me a lot more pain and soft tissue problems on my stump. Overall, hill sprints will turn you into a superhero dad by boosting your speed, energy, lung and work capacity so you can feel unstoppable in all domains of life. From going on a hike with your kids to playing sports with your friends to enjoying intimate time with your partner without getting embarrassingly winded. That being said, if you don't know what you're doing, hill sprints can be a double-edged sword that can get you injured, with hamstring pulls, for example, being very common, and other kinds of injuries like ankle strains, knee pain, and all of that, especially if you're over 35. Plus, if you don't know how to program these in your weekly training, they can also mess up your recovery and end up stalling your hypertrophy goals. Things to keep in mind. So after this huge intro, if there's still anybody watching, let's see how you want to go incorporating hill sprints without messing yourself up. Warming up before hill sprints is essential. And because the best warm-up always involves doing the thing that you're about to do, just at an easier intensity and pace, you want to start with 2 easy uphill jogs first. Specifically, start with a 75-second light jog using a super easy pace that you could easily maintain while having, let's say, light conversation with somebody else. Think of it as roughly 30% effort. Next, you want to try covering the same distance you ran previously, but at a slightly faster pace that allows you to reach the top in about 60 to 65 seconds. At this point, you want to take a short break from your runs, find something to lean on, and get some leg swings in. These are a classic warm-up for runners, and they will help you loosen up tight hips, glutes, and hamstrings that tend to feel rigid during your sprints, especially if you're closer to 40 than you are to 20. To perform these, simply lift one leg off the ground and swing it in a controlled and smooth fashion. Make sure you start easy, since the goal is feeling a light muscle stretch at the end of each swing, only increasing the range of motion as your legs start to loosen up. 15 to 20 straight and afterwards lateral swings per leg will do. And once you're done, continue with your warm-up runs. For your third set, you want to jog for 50 seconds at a pace that would challenge you to chat with someone, but not faster than that. Here, you want to aim for about 60% effort. Next, move on to a light sprint at about 70% effort. This should leave you quite winded at the end, but it should still feel smooth in your legs and your whole body. Finally, perform a 30-second sprint that is closer to 80% effort. Once again, you wanna feel winded at the end of this one, but not to the extent that your form breaks down or you feel like you're about to pull a muscle. This is your last warm-up sprint and also a good test to assess how you feel. So if nothing is aching or feels kind of strained by this point, you know you can go harder during your next main sprints. At this point, I want to say that this might sound like a lot of prep work since your warm-up basically takes more time than your workout, as it should when it comes to sprints. Still, keep in mind that these warm-up rounds offer a lot more beyond just warming up, and they provide valuable volume that strengthens your lower body, increases your work capacity, improves your blood flow, which also has recovery benefits for your strength training, and of course, it boosts overall cardiovascular fitness. So never think of this as time wasted, rather remember that the warm-up is an important part of the workout. At this point, although you want to pick up the pace, you don't want to go all in aiming for 100% effort. Maybe that's something you could do in your 20s and something I did up to my probably early 30s. But as you move closer to 40 and beyond that, things start to change. Especially if you're new to hill sprints, going all in at this point is probably a recipe for injury at some point at least. Instead, you want to aim for about 85% effort, plus or minus 5% depending on how you feel. And once you're done, continue walking uphill for a minute to give your body the chance to gradually drop gears. After that, walk back to your starting point. This is when you get your active recovery rest. And if you feel that you're not getting enough of that, simply walk slower. If everything felt good during your first round and you feel that you can push yourself harder without straining your body, go a bit harder during the next rounds, aiming for an effort closer to 90%. For your last sprint, repeat what you did during the previous sprint and make sure that you walk for at least 10 minutes once you're done in order to allow your body, again, to gradually wind down. Especially if you're adding all this on top of your strength training, during your first month, 1 hill sprint session per week can be enough. Not to mention that you also want to adjust your lower body strength training volume in order to avoid overtraining. After a month, you can slowly start experimenting with incorporating a second session and see how your body feels and recovers. Here, what I recommend is making that second session an easier session. For example, what I do during my first heavy sprint session of the week is start with a weighted wall sit in order to pre-fatigue my quads. Next, I move straight into resistance hill sprints, dragging a tire behind me, since this combo amplifies the hypertrophic effect of hill sprints by increasing metabolic stress as your legs have to work harder to generate more force against extra resistance. Once again, keep in mind that this setup is quite demanding for the lower body and overall recovery, which is why during my second sprint session of the week, I will do my 5 warm-up sets as described previously, with another 3 more moderately intense sprints at about 80 to 85% without any extra resistance. During the second light session, I focus more on running fast enough while also being mindful on good form, making sure that my feet land and propel me forward as smoothly as possible. Now, one thing I want to mention here is that I do understand that programming sprints in your training, especially hill sprints, can be hard. Let's say if you don't have a hill close by you, it might not be that practical. It is also the reason I didn't do these for 2 years when I moved to a bigger city. Now that I'm back to my hometown, or you see me training nowadays, it is easy for me to program these. But that being said, if doing these is not practical for you, there is a way around it, which is what I'll be covering in my next video, our new favorite way to train both the neuromuscular system and cardiovascular system at the same time. This is also going to be a big part of our training strategy in our upcoming superhero hybrid training bootcamp, which will be launching on October. In a nutshell, a 6-week program where we'll be helping you get quick results while boosting your confidence and building lasting habits for long-term success. Whether you're starting fresh or you're stuck at a plateau, we'll give you the structure and push you need to reignite progress and carve your ideal physique. To stay posted about all that, make sure you subscribe to our superhero list. This is where I'll be also sending you soon a free dad's guide to building a superhero physique. So that was all for today, and until next time, keep on training.